just how practical is it to 3D print toys, specifically blasters? Because there are a number of different files, STLs, that exist in the world that allow people to print their own blaster if you have a 3D printer. Now, if you've watched some of my short form videos, that you know I do dabble in 3D printing, and I thought it was the right time to pick out a blaster, complete one, with the caveat, I don't want to spend a whole lot of money in additional hardware. To make this video possible, I need to thank two people. The first one is Maritime Foam. He is the one that gave me a really great recommendation for the blaster to print, as well as Creality. They're the ones that sent me a brand new Ender 3 V3 Plus. This is the easiest 3D printer that I've ever had the pleasure of using, and the thing is just absolutely going bonkers at light speed. When I got the brand new printer, one of the things is that it has a really large print bed. So I could print a fairly large blaster, but I wanted something manageable, something that was achievable, because I have tried to 3D print blasters in the past, and it kind of went horribly. I'm good at printing the accessories and fun things that go around blasters, but when it comes to actually printing a blaster, I just haven't had good luck. And because I recently got back from the Nerf N-Series trip, I had Maritime Foam at the top of mind. So I asked him, hey, what are some really great 3D printable blasters that aren't going to break the bank when it comes to hardware? And he said, take a look at Leedle Dynamics on Etsy, and oh boy, I found some really great stuff. The crazy thing is that I'm only going to need to buy one additional part, and that is a bungee cord, because it is a string-powered blaster. Kenner, as well as Hasbro, when they've had ownership of the Nerf line, have used string-powered blasters in the past. This is a little different, though. The bungee cords on this is going to be a little beefier, a little thicker, and so we should be able to get some pretty decent performance out of darts. The other thing, too, that was really attractive is that the person who created these files made the files and then oriented them in a way so that it's not going to require additional supports, which is something that you often have to do with 3D printers, but it's just a part of the process that I don't necessarily enjoy. All things considered, this is a pretty achievable project, so let's get to the printer and start busting out some parts. Here's the thing, even though the Creality is just going at blazing speeds, it's still going to take quite a while, so this video is going to happen over the course of multiple days, multiple weeks possibly. Now, one of the new things that I'm trying with this project is trying a whole different slicer. There are a number of different slicers when it comes to 3D models that convert the item, so like the file, into G-code, which is something that the 3D printer uses to plot its lines and graphs all around the printer. So for the longest time, I've used Cura. Now I'm going to be trying Orca Slicer, which is kind of new to me. And when I got all of the files into the slicer, there were just a lot of great options that made it easy. I was able to jump right back in without missing a beat after being so dedicated to Cura for so long. It made kind of an interesting side quest, but not too much of a side quest because it all's just kind of working out. It's the next day, and I have a print that's pretty ready to go. I was absolutely shocked just how well the printer handled everything that it needed to do for this print. And you can start to see here that I've begun assembling it. The reason that it's not all done yet is because I'm still waiting on the cord from Amazon. There needs to be two different bungee cords. One, if I'm doing the instructions clearly from the original creator of this, there needs to be a bungee cord up here, and then there's one that straps all the way around the blaster, then it fits in that little retention well there. Then after that, like, it's done. All of the parts are pegged in with these little 3D printed parts. So what I did is I broke up the barrel and the grip, and then all of the other mechanical parts. And I was really, really impressed just how well the Ender 3 V3 Plus held up to just printing out a ton of stuff. It took 5 hours for the individual pieces at a 0.12 layer height, and it took 10 hours for everything that you see is orange. So that's the barrel and then the grip. It might not come across on camera, but the orange is like a semi-transparent, a semi-translucent, and you know that I love those types of toys. So from here, I'm actually printing out another version of it, and hopefully by the time I get the cord, I'll be able to make 2 of these. All because I've got a speedy printer, and it's a really fun 3D print. This is pretty awesome. So it's the next day, and I've been printing some other pieces because I want to make more than one of these. I got like 50 feet of cord coming, so it just makes sense that I'm going to have more than one. Now, I did have a little trouble with this orange PLA. If you could look at the front of this thing, you can see it's all kind of gnarled. But what's impressive is that I just let the print go, and somehow the printer figured it out, and it it like works. Like I didn't have a failure with this. It just looks not great. This piece only, because I think the footprint of it was rather small. So without printing like a brim or a raft or anything like that, it caused some adhesion problems. But I think that's something that I can isolate if I just print this piece but do it slower. I'm guessing I'll have a perfect print. So I think I'm gonna do that. So here we go. I have finished my 3D prints, my 3D prints, all thanks to the Creality Ender 3 V3 Plus. You'll notice that I didn't cover the assembly of these. That's because there's already an amazing video of this by the designer Leedle Designs. So I just want to cover the actual blaster itself. So these two are the spares. Wait. Remember when I was showing off these parts that needed to be reprinted? Well, they worked out pretty good. I got a near perfect print when I did it a second time. I just put a raft layer down so that it would have the whole raft to adhere to, which really helped this out. I don't have any of this spaghetti mess. I think it was just going too fast. I think I had two options, right? I could have slowed it down and done it very slower without a raft, or the raft allowed me to go speedily along. A part like this got done in less than an hour. Blaster itself is really easy to print. It's a lot of fun. And the only pieces, right, that aren't 3D printed, the bungee cord here, the bungee cord there. This is the very first blaster that I have fully 3D printed and completed. I've attempted some other 3D printed blasters. They just didn't go very well. But with this, the Corsair, it has this brake action. It's string powered. I have the insert in there. If you look down the barrel, there's an insert so that I can use Elite style darts or even half-length style darts. But it is just a phenomenal little blaster. And so, like, if you want to make a blaster like this, it's totally achievable. It's totally doable, especially with this Ender 3 V3 Plus that I have. But let's total up the cost, because I think one thing that doesn't get talked about a lot with 3D printing is the cost associated with manufacturing something like this. So, very basic level. The 50 feet of bungee cord that I got was, I think, $8 on Amazon. I'm sure prices of those fluctuate up and down. I already had the filaments, so I didn't have to buy additional filaments, but just assume $20-ish a roll for filament, so you need two of those, so $40 in filaments, and you're also going to need a 3D printer. Here's what I will say about buying a 3D printer if you don't already have one. Be sure to max out your budget as much as possible when it comes to a 3D printer, because we're at the level of quality now that is really, really great for a rather budget price. So when I got the Ender 3 V3 Plus, I knew about the Ender 3 because that was my very first 3D printer. But quickly, the 3D printing space like exploded and got better quality. And now that I have the upgraded version to my faithful and trusty Ender 3, you can really see the leaps and bounds of difference between the print quality from when I got that, gosh, years, like 6 years ago? Now this brand new one just absolutely blows it out of the water. So it makes printing one of these things like a real treat. It's just easy. Now, was there some tinkering that I had to do? Yeah. I had to take a little bit of debris out of the extruder so that it could then feed the filament properly. After that, I was off and running, and that little bit of work on a 3D printer compared to something that I was doing with these much older machines is so much different. It's like the difference between turning a key in a car and like building a car from scratch to get where you need to go. But I think we owe it to ourselves to try out the blaster here before we go. So let me go find some darts and we'll try out the Corsair. So the best way to load this thing is you brake action open it and then you feed a dart in from the rear. That way you're going to get a nice little grip on it. Otherwise you could gravity feed it from the top, but it's not going to seat as well. Click to close. Let's see if I can't get back a little farther here, and for a string power blaster, it does have some kick to it. Again, very, very fun design, and the fact that it's all 3D printed in, you know, just it came out beautifully. So if you want to get started with 3D printing foam dart blasters, I think the Corsair is probably the best place to start at getting a printer that's going to suit a blaster like this, or something larger, because with the Ender 3 V3 Plus, I have a lot of Z height, so I could print much taller blasters than this. In fact, there's like an alternate muzzle and an alternate stock that I could print that makes this blaster longer. And if you want to see me try that in the future, please leave a comment in the comment section, because then I know how quickly I need to start printing things. And if you like foam dart blasters, things like Nerf, Dart Zone, Buzzbee, I mean, there's all kinds of new companies popping up all the time, right? If you like 3D printed blasters, like the Corsair here, you should definitely hit that follow, subscribe, whatever button it takes so that you can get more videos specifically like this. But I don't just cover blasters, I cover action toys of all kinds. I mean, look at me, I'm even wearing a Street Shark shirt. And the last thing I want to tell you is, like, if you have any other questions about the 3D printing process, I want to make it as transparent as possible. You can leave those comments too, I will do my best to address them. That's everything, thank you so much for watching, we'll see you next time.